the only conscious mindset, the most prolific, profound, and revolutionary radio program in this town and any town that you can hear the sound coming from the radio, the speaker. It's the one and only SED, that's me. Yes, and you're listening to KPFT 90.1 FM. And if you're in Galveston, you're on 89.5. I was thinking of Huntsville, which is 91.9 FM on the dial. We appreciate you for listening, whether you're on your radio, your tablet, your laptop, or you're listening through the sounds of some other electronic device. But whatever it might be, we know that it's going down on the mighty 9T, and we're going to bring it to you with the way that only we can do, and that's the truth. So hopefully you've had a great week. It's been an astounding experience that we've experienced on the last 7 days. So there's no need for me to waste time because we only have 90 minutes to give you the information to move you. So as we move you tonight, we want you to think about elevation. We want you to think about growing stronger. We want you to think about being better. We want you to think about elevating each other. And that's why we have some profound brothers and sisters here tonight. But before we get into the show, we always like to start off with a little music to elevate your mind and show you what time it is.
Malcolm Garvey Huey, dedicated to all political prisoners. Life is like a movie study. Malcolm Garvey Huey, Malcolm Garvey Huey. This Kings Drew Omonti. Life is like a movie. I die, I organize. Everything I do's revolutionize. I build what's good for the whole damn hood. Study G's like these, really think you should. I study Malcolm Garvey Huey, Malcolm Garvey Huey, Marshall Cody with the Uzi, listening to Fela Kuti. I'm Ogun with the machete, especially if it's deli. Got the Santos for the hexy to protect me, so respect me. This is heavy, legendary, revolutionary. My wifey, she resurrect me when they thought they had me buried. Took me out the cemetery, now it's family over every, cause it's all that's necessary to avoid the commissary. I'ma live for you five, so I stop getting high. If you know, then you recognize it's that black and brown pride. This the power of the mind, RBG, God divine. You can see through the lies if you could read between the lines.
I live, I die, I organize. Everything I do revolutionize. I build what's good for the whole damn hood. Study G's like these, really think you should.
Study Malcolm Garvey Huey, Malcolm Garvey Huey. Study Malcolm Garvey Huey, Malcolm Garvey Huey.
Malcolm Garvey Huey, Bunchy, Bobby, Pac, and Tukey. Sitting by the door so you can say I'm acting spooky.
Nah, I ain't acting spooky. We ain't scared tonight. We definitely gonna bring that fire to you, you know what I'm saying, and definitely light a fire under you, because there's no reason why you should be walking around the town afraid or scared or petrified of anything that you might see on the news, anything you might hear on television or tell lies to your vision, because now is the time that the ancestors and our predecessors prayed for. We are the ones that they waited for and that they yearned and fought and strove so we could continue to rise, just like Maya Angelou said in her beautiful and eloquent poem. And now it is high time for us to step up as men and as women and even the young babes and children to do what is necessary to correct and rectify the chaos and the epidemics and pandemics that we see pandering and happening all across this United States and the diaspora. But before I go ahead and keep going on and on, we definitely have some beautiful and intelligent and profound female energy in the building. The one and only K Boogie. How you doing this wonderful evening?
Hey, peace, peace, peace. K Boogie on the mic. What's good, Houston?
Yes, yes, yes. So how do you feel about the current events that are going on, or where's your state of mind at? Share with the audience a few of your thoughts.
Well, personally, I'm doing well. I haven't paid attention. I did see something happened in Milwaukee, so I'll be interested in, you know, the commentary on that. But outside of that, I'm in my own zone, so.
Okay, all right. Having said that, she says she's in her own zone, but definitely we want you to think about what's going on and take a more proactive approach. I know many of us, you know what I'm saying, we have things that we're dealing with, but I think it is high time and it is very, very necessary for us to stay active, not only in what's going on, you know, across the world and across the United States, but right here in the state and the condition of our own homes. So that's why we're having this wonderful and beautiful panel assembled together. We have the brothers from Black Entertainment here. What's going on, Brother Andrew? How you doing this wonderful evening?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Man, it's a privilege and pleasure and honor to have all this melanation. And we have the one and only melanated and illuminated, my brother, Atum. How you doing tonight, my brother?
Oh, man, peace, God. Man, appreciate you for having us out,
man.
Hey,
man, I appreciate you for coming. And I know this next voice you heard in the last show, the Sister Hope does, and she does a magnificent, marvelous, and just astounding and stellar job. I can't even think of any more superlatives to describe the wonder and the wonderment that she brings to our listening ears for our pleasure and our stimulation. But this brother was on the last show. What's going on, Brother Mark? How are you doing?
Well, I'm there, I know you don't know.
Hey, man. That's my brother right there, you know what I'm saying, bringing that energy. And we are definitely going to bring in our brother, the one and the only, I don't know, again, there's not enough words in the English language to describe this brother, but he is truly a prince and a prince of Pan-Africanism, and he made it popular for folk to run around and say they're unapologetically African. How you doing, Dr. Umar, my brother, our brother? What's going on? Peace, King.
Peace and love, my brother. Thanks for having me on the show. Shout out to H-Town. Can't wait to get back here next month.
Yes, man. I'm glad you said that because you will be in the building September 11th. That's 9/11, 9/11. It's a state of emergency. Can you speak to why you've decided to come on that day being a very powerful and profound and indelible mark upon the consciousness of America, and not only Americans, but the world in general? So can you speak to why you chose that day of all days to come through and bless us with your wonderful information?
Well, without question, because I believe Black America right now is in a state of emergency. A 911 phone call is what we need to make to ourselves, to galvanize and rally ourselves around the fact that America is trying to exterminate the African, and we have to do something to, prevent that. So I felt that while America is celebrating its 911, that we need to be busy planning about our 911 because we're in a state of emergency right now, and I just felt the date was really symbolic of what it is we're going through and what we need to be doing as a people.
Man, that's excellent and very well said. Having said the things that you mentioned, Atum, I know you constantly get on Melanated and Illuminated and talk about some of the things that Dr. Umar mentioned. Yeah. Can you speak to, as a younger individual, as a part of the millennials, what Dr. Umar is talking about, that emergency and how important and how imperative it is for our people to be in the streets, be in the struggle, be moving the movement forward?
Absolutely. Well, man, peace and blessings to Dr. Umar. You know what I'm saying? Look forward to, having your energy come back down here. Yeah, absolutely. We believe in being proactive, but, not only just getting out there and, getting destroyed, we also want to be efficient with our work. And, we also want to be, anybody that's going to be out there on the front line, you have to be able to think logically. And so, that's why several of our solutions that we came up with was, you already know about our community cleanups, where we get out there and we get active and we actively engage the community to where, they see the benefit of having clean streets and, also let them know that we haven't forgot them and that they aren't by themselves.
Excellent. Excellent, man. Appreciate that. And we'll continue to keep those points going. Dr. Umar, I wanted to ask you a question as far as, individuals in the communities like Atum and the wonderful work that they're doing with the community cleanup, and he'll be letting us know exactly when the next one is, so those who would like to participate can definitely join in. And it was a profound experience the last time. But Doc, I want to ask you, as someone who goes all around the country, someone who sees, communities, good and small, bad and big, what do you see that's working on the ground level that the community members maybe here in Houston and all those listening abroad, because we have tons and tons of listeners tonight anticipating this wonderful conversation and dialogue we're participating in. What are some ideas that you've seen, and what are some activities you've seen personally that are working and that are manifesting in our communities?
Well, I would say probably Kansas City has had one of the more notable levels of unity taking place amongst the different organizations in that city. They have achieved a situation where whenever an organization is hosting an event, the other organizations will not compete with that organization, and they will also support the event by sending at least 2 members, I believe it is, to that particular organization's event. And so for me, I think that was very notable because I don't really see that in other cities that I visit, not only in America but across the world. I don't really see that level of operational unity where other organizations agree not to compete with each other and to also support the event by sending this membership. So shout out to Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri for taking the lead and showing that level of respect for each other's organization.
I'm glad you said that because the brothers at Black Entertainment do exactly that. They work together operationally and they deal with, you know, other organizations, and they've actually come together and work with melanated organizations as well. Andrew, can you speak to how important it is what Brother Umar, Dr. Umar just talked about being cooperative and being collaborative and collective in your operations and in your strategic and logical planning?
Well, in the world that we live in today, it's just absolutely important that we work, that we have a collective effort and come together and have an agenda that's for us and by us. So that's definitely at the top of the list of things that we should all be doing.
Thank you. Excellent point. Mark, can you speak to that as someone who works with other black businesses and other entrepreneurs and is beginning to collectivize and work in a unified and collaborative manner?
Well, it's mostly about confidence, you know. We need the confidence to stand up on our own 2 feet, and even though I say 2 feet, you know, we are many, but you can't do it by yourself, you know. You need the support of your brothers and sisters because every other race is doing this, you know. The Chinese man, him have him Chinese shop down the road, and he's employing his brothers and sisters, and him call them brothers and sisters. But y'all understand what I'm saying, you know?
Yeah, we understand.
Right.
Dr. Umar, can you speak to why it's so difficult for melanated folk, black folk, to work together, to respect each other? One of the films that really sticks out in my mind is Reservoir Dogs, and there was 2 white guys fighting, and another white guy was telling him to stop fighting, and, you know, he was using all expletives, and they weren't listening to him. They were becoming more anger and more rage and more ravishing of each other, becoming more violent, and then he yelled out, "You guys are acting like a bunch of niggas." And immediately those 2 white guys stopped and they began to be civil. And what Quentin Tarantino did in explaining and expounding upon that experience was left an indelible mark upon me. Is what he was saying is that the only people on the planet that fight each other for fruitless and frivolous things are niggas. Can you speak to why we do that and how we can overcome those things?
Well, one of the things we have to understand was that during slavery and colonialism, one of the ways that the oppressor controlled the oppressed community was through manipulation of conflict. And, of course, in the United States, we had meritorious manumission where you could become free by snitching out and working against freedom fighters in their various initiatives. So an entire culture was created and cultivated during slavery by the white man that sought to put black people at odds with each other. When slavery ended, when colonialism ended, those types of habits were already well inculcated within us, and we continue to practice them long after the peculiar institution was over. So we have to recognize that a lot of these infighting behaviors, these self-defeating behaviors, are things that were introduced into the community as a means of keeping us at odds with each other as opposed to working together against a common enemy. And we have not been able to stamp them out because we haven't identified their source.
Well said. Atum Ra, you were shaking your head as Dr. Umar was dropping that wonderful science upon us. What have you seen from your experience, you know, being in the collegiate environment, being, you know, working with children? What have you seen, you know, in your environment that has led you to understand what Dr. Umar was saying, and what points do you have to offer to that perspective?
Well, man, like I said, he hit the nail on the head. Definitely working with the youth. You know, one of the biggest challenges we have is trying to remove the self-hate that they have within themselves that they don't even know that exists. And so, you know, you see that as you overcome those barriers, you know, things become easier. And then, you know, also, you know, what he brought up earlier, you know, with different social organizations being able to put that ego to the side to realize that we all are out here for the community. You know, we're not out here just to promote our own organization or to get different followers or people behind us, and being able to check that ego to move on. And that's one of the reasons why we created the bum rushes, so that we can promote different black businesses that are out here in Houston. The next one we doing is going to be on the Alameda Strip next Saturday, where we're trying to get all the businesses money and get everybody to come out and support them.
That's real. Doc, he mentioned something about self-hate. I know, when you come on 9/11, you're going to be talking about, the emergency that we're in and the things that we're suffering from. Do you think the self-hate is a critical part of that suffering, or is it a symptom of the suffering?
It's a part of the suffering. And the self-hatred, is so entrenched in us and so normalized within our community that it's hard to even identify that it exists, because it has been so constant over time that we often overlook it and fail to recognize the role that it continues to play. But you have to add to that self-hatred the fact that it gets intensified by the castration of the black male's ego, which is to say the reason black men are often at odds with each other, whether it's in the conscious community debating ideology, whether it's on the corner fighting over turf, or whether it's between, two schoolboys who are simply competing with each other for the most expensive brand name clothing. We have to recognize that because we have not been allowed to be men in American society, the black man has never been allowed to really flex his muscle, to show his masculinity. Whenever he tries to do so, he's perceived to be a threat. And as a consequence, he's rapidly taken out of here, murdered even. And so because of that, there's a frustration and a pain and a hurt that resides deep, within the reservoir of black men's consciousness. And we are often fighting one another because we feel that the only way we can express our masculinity is by keeping another black man down.
Man, you just said it's a mouthful right there, my brother. Brother Andrew, as he said, keeping a brother down, your organization has been lifting brothers up. Can you speak to why that's important to your organization? And you speak to some of the measures such as showing hidden colors and doing some of the events, and bring up the events that you're doing soon coming to this city. Can you talk about why that's important, as Dr. Umar said, bringing brothers up?
Well, we realize that it's important because we notice and we see that we're in a state of emergency when it comes to black people globally. So with Melanoed Vybz and Blaxx Entertainment, what we seek to do is to bridge a disconnect between the African diaspora and bring them together, help us network together, build together, because that's the only way we're going to get up out of this.
That's real. Go ahead, Atum, you want to say something?
Oh yeah, no, I was absolutely going to, agree with the brother, and it's always inspirational to see, the next generation get out there and ready to, pick up the torch,
right?
And and go there, and then because that's the disconnect, it became real for me when I started seeing, the mental generational poverty passed on to, people that are, half my age,
right?
And so then, like Brother Umar said, that's when you realize how deep it really is.
That's real. Brother Mark, being from, the islands, as we can tell from that wonderful and beautiful accent of yours, can you speak to the disconnect and the self-hate that might exist even in the islands, and also that might exist amongst those from the continent of Africa and those Africans living in the continent of America? Is that something that's a part of the reality and the experience that you can speak to?
Yes, very much is no different. It's like, for example, in Jamaica, you have people with beautiful black skin bleaching them face. You have like Vybz Cartel, just the epitome. You're already famous. You have your money. Why are you bleaching? That is how deep the self-hate is ingrained. So and we have to do something about it, man, because it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said we have to do something about it. Dr. Umar, what's something that we can focus on specifically to begin to fight or counteract some of the self-hate and the destructiveness brought about from the white man and brought about from even our own, so-called entertainers and leaders and so-called professionals who think that white is right and black is evil?
Certainly. Well, number one, we have to recognize that most of our behaviors are being piloted by remote control. a lot of this is habituated behavior. We're doing it without even giving much conscious thought as to why we do it. And that's because it has been so intergenerationally ingrained in our psyche that we're doing things that doesn't even make any sense without us even questioning why we do it. And the way you break habit is by teaching our children how to behave in a correct way before these negativistic patterns take root in their subconscious. And so the best way to get rid of any type of maladaptive behavior is to make sure that the next generation does not practice it. See, we have to realize that when our children are born, they're not born with this information already encoded in them. They're not born as a self-hating child. They're not born worshiping materialism. They're not born loving America. They are taught that through their parents and through their community. And yes, it's also taught in school, it's taught in the media, but as a community, we play a very significant role in repeating the American nigger factory. And we have to recognize that we are the ones that are constantly recreating more slaves for mass plantation.
Wow, you said the American, you just dropped a powerful idiom. Can you kind of go into the niggerization process? And many of us would say, oh, Dr. Umar, I mean, come on now, man. You know, we've been free. You know, the Emancipation Proclamation happened in 1863. You know, Dr. Martin Luther King, you know, they marched in the 60s and they protest. And, you know, we got the Brown versus Board of Education desegregation. We got Michael Jordan, white kids saying they want to be like Mike. How is this niggerization process still occurring when we have all of these individuals, even President Obama, you know, in the White House, a black man?
Well, here's the thing. Laws on paper are not necessarily laws in practice. And one of the biggest mistakes that we have made as a people is that we treat a law as such because it actually exists on paper as opposed to evaluating the law based on whether or not it's actually being put in practice. And so, you know, we also got to realize that oppression operates to the extent that you are dependent upon its institutions. White supremacy can only affect black people to the extent that you are dependent upon its institutions. So, for example, if you don't have a hospital of your own, you have to go to white folks' hospital. You don't have a school of your own, you have to go to the schools that white people operate. So we got to realize that we actually subject ourselves to the carnage of white racism and supremacy because we do not have our own community infrastructure. First of all, freedom. The most fundamental precept of freedom is the ability to operate freely from your oppressor. You cannot be free still living in the oppressor's territory. You cannot be free still being dependent upon the oppressor's institutions. The first of all freedoms is the freedom to operate free of your oppressor, and we do not have that. We have very little wealth. We are still operating on 1% of all the wealth in this country, which has been held steady since 1865. 150 years, and black people's ownership of the wealth of this country hasn't even moved a single percentage point. So when you are free, what exactly are you free to do when you really don't own anything through which you can operate freely?
Wow. So basically what you're saying is that freedom is not a word. It's not something that, you know, is esoteric or abstract. It's really how you're able to self-determine and able to manifest your own destiny and not depend on others for the necessities of your existence and survival.
Absolutely.
Now, having said that, my brother, and I appreciate you, I want to go back to a point that you made earlier about, you know, the education process. Many of us in this city, over 51% work in a school environment or courtesy of the school district. That's one of the highest employers in the city of Houston, believe it or not, followed by the medical center. So education and healthcare supposedly are the most essential things that are employing folk in this city. And I find it quite interesting that there are so many sick folk in Houston as well as so many miseducated people. And I think it goes back to that niggerization process that you mentioned earlier in your talk. Can you speak to why the school system specifically has turned into a place in which is now a pipeline for prison, and now prisoners are exploding from black and brown communities. Almost 60 to 61% of the prison population is black and Latino?
Without question. Well, firstly, education in America was started to produce a better educated low-wage earner for the corporations. Education was never about sending anyone to college. It was never about sending anyone to trade school or even, sending them to start their own business. Education was all about enslavement to the corporations, making sure the workers could do basic reading, basic math, and basic writing so that their labor could be more effectively exploited by the capitalist engine. And so public school was created because there was a need for that low-wage earning person to have a basic minimum skill education. Now today we're in a situation where black people's labor is no longer necessary in order for America to operate. And that's a very significant thing given the fact that many of our ancestors were born here because their labor was very much needed. Slavery was very much necessary for the birth of American capitalism and economic elitism. And now the same people who were brought here to make America are no longer needed to maintain America. So what do you do when the people who are brought here to make America are no longer needed to maintain America? You automatically embark upon a systematic process of genocide and extermination. And that's where abortion comes in. That's where Ebola comes in. That's where the LBGT movement comes in. That's where police genocide comes in. Black-on-black crime comes in. And, of course, mass incarceration comes in as well. And so we got to recognize that everything that is being done to black people in America now is not being done to oppress you. It's being done to get rid of you.
Wow. So what you're saying is genocide of sorts or racial cleansing.
Oh, without question, ethnic cleansing on a whole nother level. And it's very difficult for black people to speak out about this and have anything politically done or legally done on an international scale, because many of us are still very much wedded to the idea of being African American. We are still pretty much American loyalists. Even with all the killings that's been going on in America, black people were still out there celebrating July the 4th, 1776. So psychologically, we are very much dependent on the white man. Psychologically, we very much identify with the white man. And it's going to be very difficult to fight oppression when you sympathize with the oppressor.
Well said. Now, according to a Pew Research poll that was taken, it says that 61% or 6 out of 10 blacks say race relations are generally bad and actually have gotten worse since the election of President Barack Obama. Now, I know, brother, you have been a definite crier and speaker of, your opposition toward black people so foolishly putting all their hopes and praise into one man, and especially that man being Barack Obama. Can you speak to why now there's so much angst in the black community regarding the presidency of Barack Hussein Obama?
Well, that's because black people are disappointed. They actually believed in Barack Obama. I don't know why. There was no evidence whatsoever that would suggest that he would do anything for black people. He never did anything for black people in Chicago. That whole community organizer facade was nothing but a propaganda campaign to give the appearance that there was a grassroots black man who was being chosen to be president of the United States. Obama is anything but grassroots. He was made by the Trilaterals. He was made by Zbigniew Brzezinski. He was made by the Bilderbergs. There's nothing about pull yourself up from your bootstraps about Barack Obama whatsoever. So black people foolishly, ridiculously, and immaturely put their hopes into a man without any type of concessions from him before they decided to marry their vote to his cause. And so now, 8 years later, they have come for a circle to only recognize that that change that Obama talked about so much in his first presidential campaign bid was actually a change from better to worse. Black people assumed that when Obama said he was going to bring change that we could believe in, they thought he was talking about, eradicating racism. They didn't realize that the change that Obama said you can believe in was actually a change for white people to put black people in chains back into a state of oppression that almost resembles slavery. And when I go back to the early Obama campaign administration, I think I might have been the only scholar in the country who publicly felt or stated on several occasions that by the time President Obama get out of office, black people will be in a position that is almost worse than anything we've seen since the Civil Rights Movement and beyond. Most other scholars were very reluctant to express the fact that President Obama was nothing but a Greek-bearing gift, nothing but an iron fist, tucked within the velvet glove. The reason he was made President of the United States, two reasons. One was to re-exploit Africa's resources through AFRICOM. And the domestic mandate for President Obama was to brainwash black people, put them at bay, and pacify them long enough for the American social order to take all the rights that our ancestors fought for and give them to gays, Latinos, and white women. So by the time Obama gets out of office, black people will be totally stripped of any type of civil protection whatsoever.
Wow. Now, to mention some of the points that you said, black wealth when Obama took office was around $11,000. At this present point, it has decimated or shrank to $5,600. So you are making a very cogent and very succinct point that black wealth and black families have been just devastated. One of the things that one of the proponents of Obama would say is, well, the Republicans came together in 2008 and said they would block him in everything he was doing, and they would stand against all his measures. And what do you say to those folk that say he's just a one black man in a house full of white folks, and they hate his gut, and they make it known, and they stop everything he's trying to do?
If white people hated Obama, he would have never been made president. Do you realize that President Obama's campaign is the most highly financed presidential campaign in American history? He spent $1 billion on his campaign to become president of the United States. No other president in history has ever been given that much money to get elected. Why did white people give a black man more campaign finance than any other president in history? It's because they knew that they could use him, they knew that they could control him, and they knew that he was loyal to the American social orders agenda. Obama is, although he's biologically black, he is psychologically white. He's not the least bit concerned about what happens to black folks. I mean, look at him. He has went out of his way to break his neck for gays. He has went out of his way to break his neck for Latinos. He has went out of his way to break his neck for illegal immigrants. He's breaking his neck for women. But what has he done for black people? Absolutely nothing. He even had a chance to put the first black woman in the Supreme Court. We've never had a black woman in the United States Supreme Court. And as you know, the black woman is the symbol for justice in many African cultures. Mm-hmm. Why would you not inaugurate the first black woman to the Supreme Court? And instead, he chose a white guy. So there's been ample times that Obama could have done small things to help black folks, and haven't done that. President Obama could have exonerated the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey from the false charges that were leveled against him by the United States Justice Department. A petition was sent to President Obama during his first administration as president, and President Barack Obama refused to sign. All he had to do was sign his name to exonerate Marcus Garvey from the unfair and untrue charges that was levied against him. He refused to do it. Barack Obama has spoken out against reparations. Barack Obama has spoken out against so much that could have truly benefited black folks. So the question is, why would he not, even with the stroke of a pen, do small little simple measures to show that he has some sort of loyalty to black folks? He's not interested. He's a white man.
Brother Mark, you said, I heard some amens from the choir. Being from Jamaica, can you speak to the profundity and, the profoundness that represents Marcus Garvey and his legacy even in Jamaica today?
Well, to be honest, Marcus Garvey's legacy is more celebrated in the United States than in Jamaica.
What?
Yes, it's true. It's just because this is where Marcus Garvey formed his legacy. When he came to America, he basically came with nothing, and he built the organization from the ground up. So I just have to say that. Yeah.
So even still, just the fact that this black man was able to mobilize more Africans than pretty much anywhere in the world, that's not recognized in his home country of Jamaica.
No, alright, example, Burning Spear song. Nobody remember with Marcus Garvey. That is the reason why he did that song, And just to expand on that, when Obama came to Jamaica, the same question was put forward about exonerating the great man's name, and him just box it to the side to where even Chronix had some remarks to say about it, and the public, they jump on Chronix like Chronix is the devil incarnate. So it's it's really funny when you think about it.
And I'm glad he said that, because Obama has been protected. And Dr. Umar, I want to bring up a point that you mentioned about biologically being black, but the psychology of being white. Yes. And many of our listeners suffer from that same white-itis, and those of us, who are fighting, to waken them up. What can we do to explain that this is a serious sickness and it's an epidemic that is affecting so many melanated people across the planet?
Well, first of all, we got to recognize that the traumatized mind does not respond to logic. Because trauma is illogical. And African people, we are traumatized people. And one thing we know about traumatized people is that they cannot see their reality as it is. One of the basic tenets of psychological illness is detachment from reality. And that is why, that helps explain why black people cannot adjust or adapt to their reality, because they're traumatized. And central to that traumatization is a love and a desire to be accepted by white people. The number one pursuit of black people in America is to be accepted by white people. And most of what we do is motivated by the fact that we want to imitate, and join our oppressors. Many of us go to college just so we can afford a house next to white people. Many of us go into professional sports just so we can marry a white woman. I mean, look at how much of our behavior is motivated by nothing other than being accepted by our oppressors.
Man, you just said a ton right there. Atum Ra, you were dancing in the chair. You were like, finally somebody understands what I've been going through. Absolutely. Can you speak to being in this society and dealing with the struggles that our people have with what Dr. Umar just mentioned? Yeah. Can you speak to that on a ground level to give some inspiration to those brothers and sisters who many times, will just come into the knowledge or waking up, and then they'll go to awaken their family, and they're finding out that they're shunned, criticized, and ostracized.
Right. Well, I mean, first of all, you got to realize what you sign up for. And, if you say that that's going to be your walk, you got to be willing to, walk that walk and take whatever it comes to you. And, you also got to realize, like some of the points that we brought up earlier, that, the only way that, a person can be a slave is through the artificial fabrication of consciousness. And to borrow, one of Dr. Umar's phrases that he uses all the time is, black people in America have the illusion of inclusion. And so, we keep fighting for a system that is never fought for us. And so, now, it's about realizing the reality of the situation and where do we got to go from here. And, that involves, a variety of different things. But, one thing that we can start with is changing our diet and changing the way that we eat and changing the way that our kids eat. Because, we're the only people that, let our children get birthed, fed, and educated by our enemy. So, we definitely got to, cut that out. And, I definitely know that, the politics and the education and things like that, may take some time to manifest, but one thing that we all can do right now is start focusing on our health and focusing on the health of our kids, and that will start to change the way that our people are thinking.
I just had to take that all in because that was quite profound, my brother. On the line, we now have joining us Sister Crystal with the new Black Panther Party, and she's going to give us an update about what's transpiring and happening in Louisiana, because we have many of our people, as Dr. Umar said, about trauma experiencing that right now. So we need to get an update as well as information about what's transpiring and what's going on so we can get out there and help on whatever level, whatever capacity we can provide. Sister Crystal, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and thank you so much for having me on the radio. It's definitely an honor to be on. We have such distinguished guests as Dr. Umar Johnson and the other brothers that you have on the line.
No, thank you, sister. We appreciate your work, your due diligence, and how you're caring for and protecting our people. Can you give us an update about what's transpiring right now? Because we know we see the corporate media, and they're showing signs and symbols and flashes of delusions, but we want to know on the ground level what's happening to our people.
Yes, sir. First and foremost, I want to quickly just just ram back on what Dr. Umar and the other brothers were saying and put this in perspective. We have to realize not only are we oppressed, but we have to acknowledge the fact that we are still in bondage. We never had freedom. The 13th Amendment said we can't be slaves unless we commit a crime, and the 14th Amendment forced us into being citizens of this country. In fact, it says we are subjects to their rule. So instead of us having individual slave owners, we have been under the rule and government of this nation that never has recognized our humanity. And I'm going to bring that full circle as to what you asked me. I've been the national chair of the New Black Panther Party since 2013. Before that, I was the local chairman in Houston since 2002. And out of the 10-point platform, we have spent days upon days constantly dealing with police brutality, which we put in the proper context as ethnic cleansing and genocide that is being executed on the part of the state by the police department, being sanctioned by the state and ignored by the federal government, because they are well aware of the level of abuse of humanity, human rights violations, civil rights violations, and actual criminal activity that's been taking place on our people by the state. The police also, from chattel slavery, were and are the slave catchers, and they were also the people who kept fear on the plantation. And this is what they're doing now. When I first came into the party in 2002, we probably had a bad police brutality case maybe once a year, every 6 months. But since 2008, when Barack Obama became president, we have been inundated as an organization across the nation weekly about reports of police brutality, and not only the police brutality, but by the way that the state continues to allow these officers to get away with murder. And we purposely, and we have to elevate our language and say this is ethnic cleansing and genocide, like Dr. Umar Johnson is saying, because these are international human rights violations. And until we take this and put it in its proper context of ethnic cleansing and genocide, we are going to have to take our movement to the international human rights arena, because the state and the federal government will never do anything by us. And we're not saying that the UN will, but we're going to have to put this in the proper global context. With that being said, not only is the New Black Panther for Self-Defense very much involved with justice, but we also have, after Katrina, we found that our people currently, we don't have any, up until we created the Black Cross, we didn't have any independent entity that is set up to deal with these natural and man-made disasters that keep plaguing our people. In the Gulf region, since Katrina, we have had hurricane after hurricane. And we keep going to the Red Cross, and that's the only source on the national level that has been providing resources when our people come under tragedy. So after Katrina, and particularly a few years later when the earthquake hit Haiti, the New Black Panther Party started the Black Cross. And coincidentally, as you were talking about Marcus Garvey, we purposely chose the name the Black Cross after the legacy of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. And that is our survival and disaster relief component of the New Black Panther Party. So moving forward, last month in July, the world saw Atum Sterling being assassinated, ethnic cleansing and genocide. The government is targeting a particular race. That is us black people. We're being executed. Those of us that are not being executed are being incarcerated. It stops our population growth. With that being said, Atum Sterling was murdered publicly. We saw it on the news. We saw it on social media. The New Black Panther Party on July the 9th went down to Baton Rouge to organize a demonstration for justice for Atum Sterling. On that weekend, over 200 of us got arrested. We were arrested for simply exercising our so-called constitutional rights for freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, and some of us also had armed patrol, which was legal in the state of Louisiana, and we were arrested. There were false charges leveled on the majority of us for obstructing the highway, which we did not obstruct the highway. The police blocked the highway. But also several of us, the majority of us, were charged with inciting a riot, in which there was no riot. The police came out. They had tanks on us on July the 9th. They had state police with full gear. They had local police with full gear, and they literally attacked, chased people down, brutalized people, went into people's homes, went on the street, arrested over 200 people. Okay, so we had a lot of outcry about it. 100 cases were dropped, but still another 100 people still have charges. So we have been organizing with the people for the last few weeks that had been had their rights violated. And on Tuesday, which was 30 days from the after Sterling Big when everybody got arrested, we started organizing for a human rights assembly that we are hosting on August the 27th in Baton Rouge. 2 days later, Thursday just passed on the 11th, a massive storm hit the Baton Rouge area, and what we had to do was switch over to the Black Cross. And what we have been doing is communicating with people on the ground. As we speak, we had a call a couple of hours ago. 60% of Baton Rouge is underwater. The waters are 7 to 8 feet high. Most of the rivers, the lakes, are starting to crest over. So what we're now doing, or having to do, is communicate and route people to shelters. We've had to do logistics and to keep monitoring the highways that are open. A lot of people, as we speak, are currently stuck on some of these highways and have been stuck on I-10, I-20, I-55, and certain directions for over 48 hours now. We need to get the word out about that. Yes, the media is showing some of the rescue that is very important, but we need the state of Louisiana Road Department, the Mississippi Road Department to open up these contraflow lanes to allow people to move because we are in a state of crisis. In addition to that, we have people who are still stuck in their houses with water that they're said is up to their chest level. And the people who have water that is 7 to 8 feet having to be bussed out. But as the days go on, we know this water is going to be rerouted and the flood level is going to continue. So we have asking people, if you're in the Houston area or in the New Orleans area, or in the Lafayette area, or in the Jackson, Mississippi area, we have identified those towns that are closest to Baton Rouge where we can have people bring supplies such as water, food, blankets, and pillows, non-perishable food.
Sis, can you give your information so folk that's listening, because we have people listening all around the world, and we want them to contribute and help. And I appreciate for everything that you said, because it's been quite profound information, and we haven't heard that kind of description from the corporate media. So can you give us either your information or a way to contact you so folk out there can give supplies and give support to some of the severe flooding and even what you mentioned about Alton Sterling?
They can go to NBPP, that's N as in Lou, B as in Black, P as in Panther, P as in Panther, NBPPBlackCross.com. If you go to our website, you'll see the supplies they were asking for. We set up hotlines for Mississippi and Louisiana for people to call to be directed as to which roads are clear and what shelters are available. We're also asking people to send monetary donations because as the waters go down, we're going to have to bring immediate supplies to people. After Katrina, we knew that when the water went down, people's homes are underwater, so they're going to have to start gutting their homes. They've lost everything. So we're going to ask people to bring for cleaning supplies and things of that nature. But right now, if people can go to NBPPBlackCross.com, there is hotline information where you can talk to live people. And we also have a list of what's needed. And that's what's the most immediate need right now is for people around the world to support right now. If you can't come on the ground, send, it doesn't matter if it's $5, $10, $100, $1,000, whatever your level is. But if folks can help with hitting that link, that's going to hit our GoFund. And if you're in Houston, New Orleans, Lafayette, or Mississippi or close to it, we do have drop spaces where you can bring those basic needs. And as soon as the water level is safe to clear down, we will be going down to ground zero in Baton Rouge within the next couple of days.
Awesome. Can you give out your information or some way that people can contact you as being a point person? So keep us updated and let us know.
Yeah, so that's the way. Go to the website because the hotline numbers they can get to us immediately. We have Panthers in all of those locations, and we specifically set up a hotline that's being monitored 24 hours for Louisiana and Mississippi. And those cities that I mentioned, we have people on the ground to receive supplies, and also we'll be delivering supplies. And you can see on our website that we've been doing this for a minute. You can see other disaster areas that we actually hit the ground. It's not going to go to Red Cross or get put in some warehouse. We actually go to ground zero and go home to home and take these basic needs to people. Because when people lose everything, it's amazing. You don't know how important a pack of soap and towels and water and food is when people are sitting without utilities for hours and in a house that smells like mold. You know, all of those, the small things add up. And even if a person feels like they don't have a lot, whatever you can do, it all adds up. Collectively, we are very powerful. And this goes right into your program tonight about us being self-determined and doing for self.
Thank you, sister. We love you and we appreciate your support. God bless you. God be with you. And we are going to do our part to help and assist in your endeavors. Thank you, sister. God bless.
Thank you, too. Black Power.
Black Power. Hey, Brother Umar, are you still there, my brother?
Yes, sir.
My brother, she mentioned a lot of information, and Sister Crystal really is on the front line and is a part of the movement moving our people forward. Can you speak to one of the things that she mentioned about us not having the kind of organizational and logistic structures and organizations in place to protect our people in states of emergency? Is that can't be due to a lack of funding? Because I hear folk all the time say we have $1.3 trillion. That can't be because we don't have celebrities and people in positions, because I see Negroes dancing and laughing and talking on the TV screen all the time. What is the root culprit creating that kind of situation?
Well, the thing about it is, number one, black people, again, their love for white folks is so great that they don't think their masters would do anything to harm them in such a devastating way. So when you talk about disaster preparedness, most black folks will look at you and laugh because they have so much faith in their oppressor to protect them that they really don't think that something like that would ever come to pass. They really don't believe that martial law can ever take place. Remember, you're dealing with traumatized people who do not see reality as it is. They only see reality as they would hope it to be. And, of course, we also got to recognize that we're the only race on the planet that does not look out for its own best interests unless it is forced to. And so another reason why you don't see our money being organized to benefit ourselves is because black people have very little faith in black people. In fact, I'm not sure if the racism that we direct towards each other does not exceed the racism that is directed toward us by white folk. I mean, our neglect for African life and quality of existence is as bad, if not worse, than the neglect of African life by white folks. Many of us are psychologically white as well, and we also have to keep that in mind. Many of us operate from a Eurocentric consciousness that we are totally happy and contented with. That's why when you talk about black issues, you often have to talk about, you know, black this and black that. And, you know, why do you have to constantly remind people that they are black? Because many of our people are working as quickly as they can and as hard as they can to get away from identifying with the group.
Man, that is well said, brother. You know, we're going to see if we can we keep you on across the hour, because there's definitely some things we want to talk about as far as the event on 9/11 and as well as the school to prison pipeline. I know, brother, you're in Philadelphia and whatnot, but we'd be honored and it'd be privileged if you could stay with us across the hour.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think I could do another 30. We shouldn't be.
Hey, man, I really appreciate that, man. That's real in the field, man. You know what I'm saying? And we got something special. Mark and Andrew, you know what I'm saying? They've been with us a couple weeks, and they definitely have been moved and motivated by the spirit of the Conscious Mindset audience and the wonderful and profound people that we bring through. So they have a special gift for the listeners, too. So they're going to drop some tickets. Am I right, Andrew? Am I right, Mark?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, we got Dr. Moot coming on September the 3rd, and we have your friend Dr. Umar David Banner coming on the 4th to the Shrine of the Black Madonna, and you coming on the 11th. So people better get ready. September's going down, and they got some tickets for the town, and we'll be giving them out on the other side of the hour. But Atum Rod, you want to say something before we close out for the hour, my brother?
Man, I'm just happy, man. You know what I'm saying? We just got to keep it moving, man.
Cool. Andrew, let the people know what they're going to have to do to get those tickets, man.
Well, call into the show And let people know why you want to come out to the Revolution Weekend, September 3rd and 4th.
You see, he trying to make me work hard. The phone line's about to light up. But go ahead and call 713-526-5738. Again, that's 713-526-KPFT. If you'd like to have a seat for free, they're seeing Moot or David Banner, and that's something that's going to transpire September 3rd, September 4th, and we cannot forget about Dr. Umar on September 11th. So you might as well do some overtime this week, you know what I'm saying, do some extra babysitting, you know what I'm saying, save yourself some bread, because September is going to be must-see TV, and it won't be on YouTube. It'll be right at the Black Shrine of the Madonna, where it's going down, where black people are comfortable with black people and definitely okay with being unapologetically African. And Brother Umar, before we close out for the hour, man, I just want to say thank you for being a profound and powerful brother. You know what I'm saying? First and foremost, it's a lot of haters out there that want to say this and want to say that about you, want to say you a hater, you hate homosexuals, you know what I'm saying, you steal money and all that bull crap. But the fact of the matter is you stand up for our people, and I love you, brother. I want you to have the final words before we go to this song honoring our brother.
Oh, no doubt. Well, I just want to say I'm looking forward to coming down to Houston. In addition to the lecture on 911, that morning will be a for sisters only breakfast at the Shrine of the Black Madonna as well. So we want the sisters to know that I will be doing a for sisters only relationships and dating breakfast. And also on the 9th and 10th in Texas City, we will be hosting our training regional conference for the National Independent Black Parent Association. So anyone who wants to come out and help organize the National Independent Black Parent Association to help us fight and protect our children as well as our parents, then please, please, please join us for that as well.
Man, you just dropped the bomb. Hey, you a bad man, Umar. Hey, I know you got that smooth, Barry White voice, but you're a bad man. You just said we're going to have a luncheon for the sisters to talk about relationships and so they can get their man right for the rest of 2016. Oh, man, that is beautiful, man. We definitely got to talk more about that when we come back on the 10 o'clock side of the hour. You know what I'm saying? The power hour, and we definitely going to bring it to you. But before we do, we got to honor our brother. As our brother said earlier, you know what I'm saying, burning the spear. We're going to bring it to you. You don't have to wait no more. Come back. Make sure you listen in. Marcus Garden words come. Man, we just had to let that one play for a second. We do, Andrew and Mark, I'm happy to announce to you we do have two wonderful, beautiful, melanated individuals who won those tickets. You can keep calling. We might give you an extra one, you know what I'm saying, if you sound cool and you represent the show. But we do want to shout out, it's really interesting. I'm telling you, Dr. Umar, you're a special man. You brought some profound and powerful energy, because we had one sister that called and her last name was White, and we had another sister they call, and her last name was Black. You know what I'm saying? So we got White and Black in the building that will be winning those two tickets to see either Dr. Moot or our brother David Banner. And Dr. Umar, just using that as a segue into the next portion of the conversation, I do want to honor you because you are one of the most requested and well-known speakers and lecturers going across the country and the diaspora for that matter. And one of the subjects that you just break down and do exemplary work explaining is the school to prison pipeline. Can you speak to that as we get ready here in this city to open the hallowed halls of education in a couple weeks? Can you speak to what parents need to do to prepare their children and hold their schools and those hallowed halls accountable to making sure that their children are educated even in the belly of the beast?
Yes, sir. Well, for starters, I would say that I'm hoping that many of your parents who are listening to tonight's program actually consider coming out to help be an organizer and a leader in one of the National Independent Black Parent Association chapters down in Texas. I mean, I think it would be a crime for us to come to Texas to host a second training conference for the association and not have people from Texas participate. We need chapters in Houston. We need them in Dallas. We need them in Texas City. We need them in Galveston. We need them all over that place. And there's going to be 7 committees within the Parent Association. There will be a committee that deals with special ed, another committee that deals with school discipline, another committee that deals with policy, a committee that deals with support, a committee that deals with school finance, another for homeschooling, and another for parent advocacy. So number one, they need to get involved with the Parent Association because this will be the first, and from what I understand, it's the only National Black Parent Association committed to helping our parents fight to protect their children from academic abuse and systematic educational racism. Now, as it relates to the school to prison pipeline, we have to keep in mind that the school deliberately seeks to miseducate black children to make sure that those children are never in a position to rival white children for political economic control of this society. So the schools are not broken. The schools are doing exactly what the schools are supposed to do, and that is to keep black kids from competing with white kids.
Well said.
Peace, peace. This is K Boogie. How are you, Dr. Umar Johnson?
Peace, Queen.
Peace. So this is that part that's piqued my interest. So I have a question. When it comes to the homeschooling initiatives, when it comes to the taking our children out of the institutions and building our own, I've considered it, and I've seen it happen in Houston. It hasn't lasted due to finances and, management and just people not able to maintain it. But my concern is resources. And so the one thing that the schools do offer to a certain degree, depending on what district you're in, are resources, meaning smart boards, accessibility to different, just they have resources because they have the finances for those resources. So when we pull our children out of these schools, because what I'm seeing, I see homeschools, but typically they don't have the books, or they don't have the resources that, they're missing when it comes to being able to compete and producing children who are able to compete with their enemies. They're not producing those type of children. They have a black consciousness, but they might be lacking in academics. So how do you address that issue?
Well, number one, depending on the state in which you live, and of course you guys are in Texas, but generally speaking, depending on the state in which you live, the homeschool code varies from place to place. And in many states, probably most states, a homeschool child still can benefit from the resources of the school district. So if there's any programs that exist that a parent feels that their homeschool kid can benefit from that are offered by the school district, they can still participate. In many of the same resources that you are mentioning, if a parent feels that they need those resources in order to properly meet their children's educational needs, yes, they can still benefit, just like homeschool kids can still participate in extracurricular activities. Right. So when you homeschool your child, you are not forbidden from accessing the school district's resources. You can continue to get those services.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Excellent. And you bring up an interesting point, Sister Keisha. I'm glad you did. Talking about, what we need to do to counteract the poison or the toxins that are being infiltrated or indoctrinated or inoculated in our children. Can you speak to certain practices you've seen work to counteract the fact that, 3rd and 4th grade reading scores are used to create prisons? And, we look at blacks and the Hispanics making up 61% of the prison population and only making 30% of the population as a whole. A Latino young man in America's schools has a 1 in 6 chance of going to prison. An African American boy has a 1 in 3 chance of going to prison. So with odds like that, parents need to be activated, not on social media talking about what's happening on, Love and Hip Hop, but really how we can move our kids, and stop this nonstop carousel into the prison industrial complex. Can you speak to some of those things that our parents must do and must begin doing if they're not doing?
Well, one of the first things I would say is we have to recognize that social network is one of the greatest contributors to the school-to-prison pipeline. And I say that because our children are now spending time on the internet that would traditionally be used studying at home, would traditionally be used for literacy development. So with the advent of social network and technology, we have black children spending less time reading. When we look at special education, 85% of special education is for reading problems. 85% of special education is for reading problems. And when you go into the average black household, you'll see that many parents do not require their children to read. Many black parents do not have a quiet hour. Many of our children don't read any books at all except those that are required of them from school. So we have to recognize that the black community is participating in the school-to-prison pipeline by not reinforcing literacy. We know that if the kid cannot read, by the time they graduate 5th grade, there's a 75% chance that they will spend some of their adult time in prison. We know this, but yet and still black households are not filled with literacy. I'm a therapist. I go to homes and I conduct therapy. And rarely do I see a bookshelf, rarely do I see a dictionary, rarely do I see a thesaurus, rarely do I see a set of encyclopedias. So we got to look at the black parent and the black community as a purveyor of dysfunction and failure by not emphasizing literacy in our homes.
I agree, and I want to add to that, I work with early education, and so along with, once they get into the higher grades, it's literacy. The pre-literacy aspect of it is conversation. So I deal with children who come to me at 4 years old, 5 years old, and they cannot, not only can they not hold a conversation, they can barely speak. And so I'm noticing that parents don't even talk to their children. They talk at their children. Go do this, stop doing that, boy, put that down. But as far as actually talking to their children and having communication, instead of putting them in front of the television, like you said, or putting them in front of a tablet that doesn't allow two-way conversations, when they come to me, we don't diagnose children per se, but the number one type of therapy that they receive is speech therapy. It's just basic speech pronunciation. Parents don't correct their children when they mispronounce words, or the children are mumbling, or they're having one-word sentences, and parents aren't expecting their children to be able to have a full conversation, so the standard is lower. So when they come to me, people are looking at these children like they're special needs, and they're trying to track them already. And it's just as simple as, instead of talking to your children, instead of talking at your children, just talk to them. And so that's another type of parenting classes or parenting initiatives that need to occur.
Yeah, Doc, I wanted to ask before we get out of here, what is the church's component? What are social organizations and community organizations? Are they culpable in this prison to pipeline occurrence? Because you mentioned parents are also purveyors of this madness and perpetrators of this nonsense, in which we have prisons popping up faster than educational environments. So can you speak to the church's culpability and lack of really creating the kind of paradigm to where our children are safe?
With our question, and really quickly, because I got a message here, I just wanted to let folks know that if they need to get tickets for any of the 3 events, the Parent Association Conference, the For Sisters Only Relationships Breakfast, or the 9/11 Power Lecture at the Shrine, they can go to princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. That's princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. As it relates to the church, I think the black church has basically failed black children and the black community in general. It's ironic, I think, that so many of our teachers belong to churches, but very few churches have meaningful, long-term academic programs that support and reinforce literacy in the community. The church is doing almost nothing as it relates to fighting against the school-to-prison pipeline. And what school districts love to do is they love to build faith-based partnerships. Every school district has a faith-based partnership where they basically throw money at black churches to keep them silent in the school-to-prison pipeline operation. Our churches are being paid to stay out of the problem.
Man, you just said a mouthful right there. And we have a brother online who's not staying out of the problem. You know, he's definitely a part of the solution, and he's going to have an event on the 21st that every person within the listening opportunity and audience, you know what I'm saying, should be a part of on some level, in some capacity. Dr. Kyles, how you doing, my brother? And let people know about what's transpiring on the 21st, because we definitely need to be a part of it.
Peace to all of the gods. Peace to Goddess Keisha, Dr. Umar, everybody. Want to let everybody know that on August 20th and August 21st, there would be some major things going on. Firstly, on August 20th, the Houston Unity Tribe, HUT, will be hosting the Marcus Garvey celebration.
Bam!
And that's going to be at Dotson Park all day on August 20th.
All day.
Yeah, all day. And then the very next morning at the Shape Community Center at 3815 Live Oak, I will be giving a presentation called Black Power Economics.
All right.
So if you are familiar with my work, you know I'm going to bring the substance. So what I'll be pointing out in particular is I'll be looking at Marcus Garvey's legacy and kind of pointing out some of the things that he did very successfully with limited resources relative to what we have now. So kind of learning from him, also learning from some of the obstacles that he faced. We'll be talking about some individual routes to wealth and things to be aware of, and also some collective steps toward unity and cooperative economics. So as many of you know, we have several resources, developing organizations right here in Houston, Texas, Blacklist Association, Visit Black Houston, etc. We have many resources that are available to us. So that Sunday morning, my presentation will be focused around the whole idea of learning from our ancestors, and particularly the plight of the great ancestor Marcus Garvey, and looking at ways that we can pool our resources toward the desired end of Ujamaa, which is cooperative economics.
Man,
now, one
thank
of the
you,
things
my
I want
brother.
to
Go
mention
ahead. And let people know about Sankofa Solutions as well.
Yeah, Sankofa Solutions. So, and you have my brother Andrew on your show right now. He'll be on Sankofa Solutions on Wednesday. So on Wednesday,
all day. Yeah. Come on, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, Wednesday at noon, Sankofa Solutions. It's noon, KPFT HD radio. You'll be hearing more about it. We will have, Sankofa Solutions is just what it sounds like. It is looking forward, looking at everything at our disposal. You know, everything is based on precedent. If you look at all of the disciplines, every single one of them is based on precedents, what came before. So on Sankofa Solutions, we take everything at our disposal and try to use that to come up with practical solutions for what we want to.
We don't try, we do it. We use it. You know what I'm saying? So, my brother, give out your contact information real quick, fast, and hurry, and we will be in the building supporting, elevating, and definitely participating in some Black Power economics.
Absolutely. My information. Let me give my phone number. because I know that there are people out there who want to be vendors. They want to participate in the Black Economics Festival that we're having right after my Sunday morning presentation on Black Power Economics. So the name of that event is the Houston Black Economics Festival. And you can easily go to Eventbrite and get complimentary tickets, or if you're a vendor, you can sign up for that very inexpensively. And so just go to Eventbrite, Houston Black Economics Festival. You want to be a part of that. Consumers, come out and buy. Put your dollar where your mouth is on Facebook and elsewhere. And those of you who are producers, you produce soaps, you produce all of these things that we go out and get other places. You want to be there as a vendor. We want to cut out the middleman and limit the capital outflow from our community. So that's the Houston Black Economics Festival.
Straight up, you said you're going to give a number. Right. Go ahead and get that number.
832-409-4193. Again, that's 832-409-4193.
Dr. K, appreciate you as always, baby. Number, love, peace, and blessings, man. Hey, guys, we've almost come down to the wire, you know what I'm saying, the last few moments. Starting out with Andrew, going to Mark, then Atum Ra, and then finishing out with the one, the only, the Pan-African Prince, you know what I'm saying, profound brother, descendant of some profound brothers, so it's no other than Dr. Umar Johnson, you know what I'm saying. So go ahead, Andrew, and get us cranked up.
Well, we want to let everybody know, if you didn't get a chance to win tickets to come to Revolution Weekend, we do have a special offer for you. If you go to Eventbrite, you can use the promotional code MINDSET, and you'll get $5 off your ticket. So if you didn't win any tickets, do that.
Man, that's love. That's love, man. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Mark.
I just want to leave a message, you know, to the black brothers and sisters. Focus on being a creator and not a follower, you know. Learn to create. Yeah.
That boy cool, man. That boy is cool runners for real, man. Yeah. Cloud9 action. Go ahead, Atum Ra. What's going on?
Oh, man. Well, man, I want everybody, man, if you get a chance, go check out my podcast called Melanated and Illuminated.
Bam.
Also, you're on Facebook. Go like our Facebook page for the Blacklist Association, blacklisthhouston.org. And, you know, after you have all the fun, you know, with the Houston Unity Tribe, Marcus Garvey celebration will be out there. You come out and support the Bum Rush on the Alameda Strip from 4 to 8. Come support some business, get some good food, and keep circulating that dollar, baby.
And that's excellent, man. He's doing a wonderful community cleanup on August the 27th. Am I correct with that?
Yes, sir. Yellowstone Park, 11 to 1. We come
man,
out
that's
there.
Beautiful. Please let people know how to get in contact with you personally, because we know some youngsters out there and some individuals with a whole lot of energy, a whole lot of testosterone or whatever they might need, you know what I'm saying, to get in, get out, and do this thing. So please let people know how to get in contact with you.
Absolutely, man. You can look me up on Facebook, Atum Ra, or you can contact me on my cell phone, 713-320-1803.
Bam, bam, it goes down just like that. Dr. Umar, are you still there, my brother?
Yes, sir, my brother.
Man, I just want to say thank you for being patient. Thank you really for just, again, stepping out there, saying it unapologetically, you know what I'm saying, representing it the way you do. And I'm asking, I'm begging, I'm pleading, I'm Johnny Gillen for our people to come on out on September 11th, you know what I'm saying, and represent the right way. Let's fill up the building, you know what I'm saying. Let's be in the stairs and the rafters, yelling and screaming, Dr. Umar Johnson! So, my brother, will you please close us out with a final thought, a profound way to let us know what we need to do tomorrow and there every day after to continue to build up our youth, strengthen our people, protect our women, and elevate to the righteous position that the Creator designed us to inhabit.
Without question, I would just reduce it all to one quote, which would be to say that until we hate white supremacy more than we hate each other, nothing will change in our community.
There you go. Man, I'm telling you, hey, please let people know how they can get tickets to see you on 9/11, you know what I'm saying, and make sure we're in the building, folk.
Yes, indeed, yes, indeed. The National Independent Black Parent Association training will be in Texas City on September 9th and 10th, Friday and Saturday. And also the For Sisters Only Breakfast will be at the Shrine of the Black Madonna Sunday morning from 8 to 12. And, of course, the main event, the 9/11 Power Lecture, will be from 5 to 8 at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. You can get your tickets for all 3 events, or 2 events, or 1 event at princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. If you're interested in being an opening act, you can email me at drumarjohnson@yahoo.com. And if you're interested in being a vendor, you can also send an email as well.
Excellent, my brother. And, you know, it's many activists in the community that have been asking me to ask you this, and they thought I was going to be scared to ask you. I ain't scared. My brother, what do you say to those that say that you're homophobic, or, you know what I'm saying, you're misogynistic, and, you know, all the other euphemisms that they give you, my brother? What, you know, I always tell, you know what I'm saying, folk that, you know, to love black people in the state and the condition we're in, the way that brother does, I think, you know what I'm saying, we need to not only be saying Dr. Umar, you know what I'm saying, the Prince of Pan-Africanism. That brother must be the Prince of well-being and wellness. You know what I'm saying? He must have some secret serum that he's drinking on or sipping on, or, you know what I'm saying, might he be smoking on, because, you know what I'm saying, to deal with our people is a full-time job, and not to, you know what I'm saying, say the negative and the hateful and the detrimental things that we do to each other, you know what I'm saying, and be positive like you and those that represent what you represent do. Man, it's quite profound. So, you know what I'm saying, before we let you go, I just want you to speak and let people know that you love your people that much, man.
Oh, without question. And I think they know that. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence. I'm the most requested black scholar in the world. It's not a coincidence, you know. So I think many people know my heart. They know my mission. They know my sincerity. They know that I'm real. I mean, when it comes to saving black children, there's few people who have done more to save our children within the school system than I have. Very few people have that type of track record for helping our parents free, you know, without cause. So I think it speaks for itself. I mean, there's always going to be detractors, but for every hater I got 1 million supporters. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't really matter, man. Appreciate you, man. None but love, man. That's the one, the only Dr. Umar Johnson. Sister Keisha,
hey.
Do you have a poem or some words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the listening audience?
Of course.
Go ahead, bless us.
All right. On July 19th, upon reading the headlines instigating the race riot during the summer of not so sweet 16 or colorable laws. When I was at the event and they took pictures, and if you ain't know better, you would think everybody came together, but I didn't come, so don't group us together, because they on some other ish, and I'm not, because I know Negroes are scared of revolution and Jesus and the gold and the silver and the you not looking so ta-da, a rabbit inside my hat looking at the sun and can't see. So maybe I am like-minded in some ways, but just not the ways of political prisoners like Mumia and Asada, and sacrifices of their bodies just laying there. I said sacrifices of their bodies just laying there in the street, just laying there, and nobody moved. Nobody move, not like move and bombs and terror and 9/11 and sadness. No, I'm more like silver and gold and coal town, and this land is my land, this land is your land, kumbaya, singing, because the alternative is bloody, 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 like Chicago. Peace.
Like Chicago. But those brothers in Chicago, Milwaukee, Atlanta, and anywhere where melanated people are, hold your head up high. Don't be afraid of what you see on the news. Don't fall for the lies that you see in the classroom. Realize and understand that we come from a profound and powerful people that inside us created the universe. So there's no need for me to go on or give you a verse. I just want to let you know that what you have inside of you, our ancestors prayed for. So it's now time for you to stop praying and stand up. And don't get me wrong, no disrespect to those of belief, but I know that faith is dead without works. So it's time to get to work. It's time to put in work, and ain't no reason to be afraid of the work, because we were born for this work, and ain't no way we gonna run away from it. Stand up. Stay alive. You know what time it is. It's been said. Conscious Mindset. I want to appreciate everybody for listening. Thank you all around the world. It goes down. Don't be afraid. Have peace of mind. And remember, if you missed anything, you want to get anything, you can listen to the show on the archives. Make sure you stay connected, because Sister Anel, Life in Focus, is coming up. And we got the brother, the one and only, this man, you know what I'm saying, Mr. Cliff, man. He won't die. We multiply.